Oh my God.
Hello, everyone. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your loved ones and your family. I'm Loro Antonio. With me today is Ben Kruse. Welcome to the Lorosportspod MLB Hot Stove Show. We have done already 4 programs already, but before we get to all the good news and all that, we're going to start with the breaking news that Jon Heyman just tweeted out just a moment ago. Right before we came on air, we'll read you the breaking news. I have his tweet right here. So per Jon Heyman on Twitter, he said that the MLB owners vote unanimously to institute a lockout. It is expected to begin tomorrow and unclear what time. And then we have a joint statement by Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association. It says representatives from both MLB and the MLB today issued a joint statement to the fans. Sorry, fans. We only had 5 years to figure this out. We couldn't get it done. We failed. We'll take you for granted and hope many of you come back. In the meantime, both sides gave assurances that while there's a lockout, there won't be silence. We'll be sure to instruct players and highly paid management to use social media to tell sad stories and embarrass ourselves while aligning most of you. The two sides couldn't agree on how to end the joint statement. They've asked for another 5 years to figure this out. So, Ben, coming on air, hearing that there is a lockout on the horizon beginning tomorrow, and also I've heard reports saying that there is going to be a press conference tomorrow as well in Texas regarding this. So we're going to have to be watching this tomorrow, and then we're going to have to talk about our reaction on the press conference tomorrow, next Wednesday as well. So what is your overall reaction to this?
It's just a big disappointment, but it's not surprising. It happens to business. It's tough. It's my favorite sport for a reason, and I'm just. It's really painful to see. I hope they figure it out. Like I tweeted out, I mean, if it's anything, hopefully it's just, spring training, they figure something out by the season. But I want something to happen. And this is crazy. So, and obviously my thoughts right now is crazy from what my team is. So, Lori, if you want to break down what the craziness of what my team just did.
Yeah, we'll have to get to that in a minute. I am beyond frustrated by this. Honestly, I couldn't put into words how I would say. I feel like that a work stoppage kills the sport of baseball, and I am not too thrilled about it. But, I feel like that. Here's the thing. Rob Manfred said this 2 weeks ago at the owners' meetings, that a lockout, an offseason lockout, is different than a labor dispute that costs games. And I totally get what he's saying from there. He doesn't want to do damage to the season. I get it. I'm optimistic at the same time that I do think that something will get resolved prior to spring training.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're going to have to keep on, figuring out what we want to do and what the players are going to want to do. And biggest thing is how we approach it moving forward. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, we still have time to get this resolved, but I do expect that after the holidays, we'll see some common ground on the CBA talks. And I also feel like that in the new CBA, I have a gut feeling that we're going to see the universal DH come to the National League. Expanded playoffs is likely going to be coming in. But I just think the main issue on these CBA talks is more the core economic problems that both sides are having, and also the service time rule and free agent competition.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing about this lockout is not only just the agreement, it's just the negotiations. And what we heard today was there's only a 7-minute talk, which is never good, regardless of what stage you are. So the biggest thing is they have to find a common ground. It's unfortunately, Laura, it's going to take time. It's not going to be something where we're going to turn around tomorrow and be like, hey, it's all done and stuff. It's great. This is the first MLB stoppage, I believe, work stoppage since like 1995, 1996.
94. It was that work
94.
stoppage before we were born.
Right before we were born. So it's obviously something that that sucks, but it's something that we gotta take into account. So
yes, I mean, I don't think it's gonna take days or weeks. I feel like that I predict it's gonna be either 2 months or maybe 1 month. I think it'll be between the 1 to 2 month range because history shows that in the past, Major League Baseball, when they had lockouts in the past, they have not missed games.
Yep.
So the last lockout was in 1990, and it took them 32 days to get a deal done. And I feel like that it'll be around that type of range because I don't think players want games missed.
Definitely so. As Chaim Bloom is meeting with the media as of right now, so we'll get more. I'll keep you updated in terms of more of the breaking news trade that just happened. For those that haven't watched, a big trade happened with my Boston Red Sox, as that little birdie tweet that I sent you seemed to be that trade that just happened. I'm still in shock, man.
Yeah, I mean, the Brewers got Hunter Renfroe. They needed a big-time bat in their lineup. I mean,
He was great for us. Really good for us. I'm going to miss him.
Talk about him in that outfield with Lorenzo Cain and Christian Yelich. That's going to be a really good outfield right there. Renfroe has a heck of an arm, and I think I was going to say Miller Park, but it's American Family Field. That's a hitter's ballpark. That's really going to suit him well.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised, too, if they also look at Seiya Suzuki, who's a Japanese guy. I don't think Chaim's all done. I mean, if this trade doesn't, say that we were all shocked, nothing will, because this was definitely something I did not expect. If you asked me last year, JBJ coming back to the Red Sox, I would have probably said you're crazy. And, I love it. I think that JBJ with our defense last year, Renfroe has a great arm. The biggest thing about Core too is he loves Jackie. That's another thing. I think that's another thing. The ties are there. So you're gonna have Jackie, you're gonna have Verdugo, and probably Kike in the outfield. You put Jackie in center. You have Renfroe.
Verdugo and right.
I don't know, and I still wouldn't rule out a guy like a Michael Conforto type in right field. I think right field still has to kind of be figured out. So I still think there's more work to be done. I think Jackie, obviously his family can come back. It sucks about Renfroe. Really liked him. Played a great right field. Going to National League. At least it's not to like a rival or something. But man, I love trades. But and obviously all the stuff that happened. But talk about just a stunner. So obviously the full-on trade was, for those that are watching, Jackie Bradley Jr. Is going to the Red Sox, as well as a couple others for Hunter Renfroe. I mean, the main guy is, for each guy, is Renfroe is going to go to Milwaukee, and Jackie's coming back to Boston. The Red Sox will get some prospects. Alex Benelis, who is in Louisville, actually, a power bat. So, I mean, a lot of people don't like Jackie's bat. It's very streaky. I get it. He's going to be down the order probably. And Bloom has just said, too, that he thinks Jackie and Kike can play in the same outfield, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Jackie Bradley Jr. coming back to Boston is definitely a really, really good sign right here. So, anyways, now My thoughts on this, I mean, I think with Boston getting Jackie Bradley back, I think that really helps shape the outfield for the Red Sox even better.
Defense, yeah.
And I really think that I would keep Kike at second. I'd put Verdugo in left field, put JBJ in center field where he's more comfortable, and then you look for a right fielder now.
Yeah. And obviously one of the biggest things I think with our team at times was our defense could get sloppy. So, for sure Jackie's one of the most and Heim said, I think a year ago before they moved on from that, he hopes that they keep Jackie for the long run, with like Benintendi. Who knows if they keep, trying to run back Benny. Who knows at some point. Might as well bring the whole game back at this point. But guys like Xander and Rafi, they're going to be psyched to see one of their old friends back, to say the least, for sure. And obviously,
with the exception for Mookie, who's in my neck of the woods.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to have your old buddy Verdugo, I mean, I don't really want to move Verdugo at this point because I think he's been a great find. But I don't. I think Heim's just good with keeping Verdugo with us. But man, oh man, talked about a lot. I mean, the Red Sox, they did some other stuff too.
Yeah, like talk about Rich Hill coming here, Michael Wacha coming here. I kind of think Tanner Houck is probably going to be a long reliever because I think why they made those moves to get Michael Wacha and Rich Hill and James Paxton is they want Tanner Houck to have more time to develop. And I think that right now you give him a long relief role in the bullpen, and then he can eat up innings if any of the starters can't go beyond 2 innings.
Yeah. I think they also got James Paxton too. Another thing too.
Yeah, I talked about James. I addressed James Paxton.
Between Paxton and
Wacha
and
Hill.
I think the starting rotation. If you ask me right now, I think Sale's one. I think Sale's gonna have a really good year this coming year. If he stays healthy, I think he's gonna be in for a mission this year. Evaldi's probably your best pitcher in terms of I trust this coming year. He's your 2. Probably go Pivetta 3, Houck 4, and then you can have different options at the 5. You can go Wacha. You can go. I mean, Paxton won't be ready.
Well, thing is probably not Pivetta in the rotation. That's why I would put Wacha in there, and then Paxton 4. I mean, 3 would be James Paxton, 4 would be Michael Wacha, and then the 5 would be Rich Hill.
Yeah. I don't know. I think some guy said just wait until Mookie and Benintendi come back. That would be funny.
Yeah, but Mookie's a Dodger. I'm happy that he's here.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go to bed tonight and be like, waking up saying, is this real? Did that really just happen? And hey man, we'll see how things go. But yeah, I mean the pitching staff, you have a lot of options. I think our top 4 best pitchers, I think, and our starting staff are Sale, Evaldi. You take your Erod out, so you have Sale, Evaldi, Pivetta, and Houck. And then you go either Paxton will be out for till the midpoint of the season. You'll probably have Wacha and Hill. I would try to go with probably. I mean, Hill actually pitched quite a bit last year with the Mets, so I would probably go with Hill. So that's
Rich Hill, I remember Rich Hill being a Dodger, and I know that when he's healthy, Rich Hill has amazing stuff. Even though he doesn't have the best velocity, his curveball is beyond the charts nasty.
Yep.
And it's unhittable.
So essentially from Ken Rosenthal, this is what I'm reading here. Red Sox effectively buying prospects, taking out $10 million with Bradley. JBJ owed $9.5 million buyout projection. So I mean, essentially, it's going to be a good trade. And I think that we still have money to get Schwarber back. That's another thing too.
Yeah, as potentially your starting first baseman.
Yeah, I mean,
but I also feel like Bobby Dahlbeck should be starting at first base full time.
Right.
Well, but we'll have to talk about this next week. Next week we'll have to talk about the remaining free agents who are going to be going where. But we might start with that. Start with a few, with Chris Bryant and Carlos Correa gaining interest. But if you talk about the Red Sox lineup right now, I would put at leadoff Kike hitting leadoff, at playing second base, then hitting second and playing left field. In left field would be Alex Verdugo, and then 3 would be Bogarts. 4 would be Rafi Devers. 5 would be JD Martinez. That's my top 5. That's your first 5 in the lineup.
Yeah, I'd probably go. If Schwarber's back, I'd probably have Schwarber leading off and then Kike. I mean, that's what they kind of did in the LCS. I would probably go Schwarber leading off, then Kike, then Xander, then Rafi at 4, and then JD at 5. I think JD really fit well in the 5 hole. I think he's a really good on base runners and scoring position type. And then you have. You feel like Verdugo's probably going to be your 6 or 7.
I wouldn't put him 6. I would put Verdugo a little higher up because he can get on base.
Yeah, I mean they did have Verdugo a lot in that 2 hole, but I mean they could kind of reshuffle the 2 hole a lot. I think the leadoff I really like Schwarber there because he's really.
We'll
he's
see
a really
if he
good
comes back, and then I have Dahlbeck in that lineup, and Dahlbeck is not an average type hitter. But Bobby Dahlbeck can change the game with his bat.
Definitely so.
And then Christian Vasquez is your everyday catcher. He's the primary catcher. And then batting 9th would be Jackie Bradley Jr. as he returns to Boston.
Yep.
So
gonna have to get used to that again.
Well, you got 2 killer bees now. Well, it was Betts, Bradley, Bogarts, but now it's Bogarts and JBJ.
Yep.
So it's kind of like OBJ in baseball, but it's abbreviated for JVJ for Jackie Bradley Jr.
Definitely so.
I think the Red Sox are going to be. I think the Red Sox have done a good job reconstructing that outfield, but I think they need to get one more piece to that to the puzzle. I
think we have to get an extra bullpen guy. I really wanted Marcelo Iglesias a closer. I think our closing situation is a little kind of. Barnes had a great first half, and then he got so bad, Loro, that they didn't even put him on the active roster in the CS. They put him in. I remember a game against the Rays where the Red Sox were up, 6 or 7 runs, bottom of the 9th, and he was just all over the place, man. I mean, when he gets really off, he is really off. So,
yes, I mean he is off, but now switching gears to my Dodgers. So let's talk about who we lost first before we get to Chris Taylor coming back, which was really, really, really good for the Dodgers here. So Max Scherzer left to sign a 3-year contract with the New York Mets. He and DeGrom are going to be in the same rotation. And I really think that both Scherzer and DeGrom, if you talk about the Mets, I could see the Mets really challenging the Atlanta Braves in the NL East, them and the Phillies.
Yeah, the Mets, between them and the Rangers, I mean, a lot of the big spenders this offseason were non-playoff teams. You look at the Rangers, right? And we'll go to a lot more of the deals in person, but obviously your guy Corey Seager, he is now off the Dodgers. He is now a Texas Ranger. That's going to be, you're going to obviously have to get used to saying, where's Corey Seager now? The Texas Rangers. Going there for 10 years. Marcus Semien, they broke the bank too. So they have their infield set for the very long term. They also added pitcher John Gray from the Rockies to help solidify a little bit of their pitching staff, which I still think the Rangers have a lot more room to improve. I still think that it's going to take a while for them to kind of get to where they want to be. They're going to have a really fun lineup, but pitching obviously takes you to that next level, and their pitching staff is just not good enough in terms of where you want to be down the road, especially in a really good division. You have the A's there, you have the Astros there, who more presumably will still be there in the race this upcoming, hopefully, season for the majority of it. Obviously, you got to knock on wood for a lot, big time of that. And then the Mets, you have a healthy Max Scherzer for 3 years. You out him with Jacob DeGrom, regardless, the best pitcher in baseball. those two stay healthy, I mean, their bullpen's still a little hit or miss. I think that they maybe could add more. If they add some bullpen help and you have those two guys healthy, Tyrone Walker too last year, you got to remember he was an all-star last year. So he's not like he's a bad pitcher either. And then you have Carlos Carrasco, who I think could have a bounce back year. Between DeGrom, Scherzer, Walker, and Carrasco, you have something there. It's going to be pretty fun as if you're a Met fan to be like, if you stay healthy, you're going to be great. And then your lineup really got much better. You added Starling Marte. He was a great hitter. I mean, he's getting up there in age, but he's average-wise up in the high 200s, low 300s, which is great. You can move him around the outfield. Actually, one of the biggest recruitments for Starling Marte was Robinson Cano, who I still don't you even forget that he's still in the Mets.
You could still put him as the DH because I think Pete Alonso is going to start at first.
Mm-hmm.
And
then you have Eduardo Escobar, who was there today too. So, it's going to be interesting for sure. So,
yes, Eduardo Escobar. I wanted the Nationals to get him, but I feel like that Eduardo Escobar being a Met, he's going to shine in the lights of New York.
I do too. He's a big market pitcher. I mean, you saw what he did with Mr. Dodgers. He was excellent. I thought
Eduardo Escobar was great with Arizona, and then Arizona traded him to Milwaukee, and then free agent, and now he's a member of the New York Mets. And then talk about Mark Canha. Mark Canha is not really an elite type of player, but he's a guy that can just give you base hits.
Definitely so. As some more breaking news in terms of the Bloom presser, he says, like what I was thinking, the Red Sox, he's hoping that the Red Sox can add some more pitching and mostly in the reliever market.
They're going to have to wait to make those moves after the lockout, which probably will end before spring training. So, I mean, my thoughts on the Mets is I really think the Mets are going to be a really good baseball team this year. They just got to keep DeGrom healthy. And I think Scherzer, DeGrom, and Carrasco, and then you have Peterson as your fifth starter, the lefty. That's their only lefty in the rotation.
All right. I got a little excited too because we're in the Correa sweepstakes, and Bloom was saying that we might be looking for a right-handed bat. So I'm not going to get my hopes up too much, but
don't give your hopes on Correa because
you know who the teams right now on Correa? The Yankees, Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, Braves. Those are the four, I think.
I don't think he's gonna be in Atlanta.
No. What do you think about Marcus Stroman? He's going to the Cubs.
Oh man, it's not enough for the Cubs, but I feel like that he's gonna help them in the rotation somehow.
Yep.
You have him
and
Kyle Hendricks and Wade Miley. That's a good 1, 2, 3, but the Cubs stuff, I don't think the Cubs are going to be doing a lot, though.
No.
So I think Marcus Stroman's a good addition, but I was talking about the Mets. I think that the Mets have a good rotation now with Scherzer, DeGrom, and I think their lineup is still going to be solid. And I think, and for the Rangers, with John Gray, I don't think he's enough. I mean, Dane Dunning can do better. He has potential to be really, really good. Colby Allard's also good, too. I would like the Rangers to add a left-handed pitcher, but I don't think it's going to be Clayton Kershaw that's going to be coming to the Rangers.
Yeah, I don't know about Kershaw's market. I think for a lot of these guys like the Chris Bryant, Freeman, which I think for the most part, Freddie Freeman, we all know he's going to go back to Atlanta, but I think that between Freeman, Correa, Danny Duffy's still out there. Carlos Rodon is still out there. Obviously, Chris Bryant, Kikuchi from the Mariners. There's obviously still a lot of them still out there that are probably going to wait and see what they want to do. Now, the one thing about Correa, Loro, I don't know if you read it. I read a tweet earlier about Correa. He said he was willing to move to third base if he has to, but he wants to stay as a shortstop. So
I think he does want to stay as a shortstop. I think the best move fit for him would be Detroit. Javi Baez is very versatile. Like, I think Javi Baez in Detroit's going to help the Detroit Tigers be really good again. And I think their rebuild's going to be over as early as this year.
I'm going to have to respectfully disagree on you about Baez moving positions, which I think he could, but I think that they're either going to get Baez or Correa at short. I don't think they're going to get either one. I think Correa is now moving to see what else he has out there. Plus the Jim Bowden teams that he would have had out there. He would have had the Tigers as one of his teams too. So it seemed like the Tigers are on that one.
Yes, I mean the Tigers are there too, but as a Dodger fan myself, I'm sad that Corey Seager left. But you know what? Hey, we got a good plan in place. We got Trey Turner at shortstop. I think we're gonna turn our focus to giving him a potential extension because I think he loves playing I think he's gonna love LA. And I think at second base, I think Gavin Lux is gonna have a bounce back year. And the big news, I'm so happy to have CT3 back in Dodger blue. I mean, you can put him anywhere. He's like he's kind of like my version of Ben Zobrist, And Chris Taylor's not going to be a guy that's going to play every day necessarily. I think Chris Taylor's a guy that you just plug him in wherever you need him. And I felt like that last year with all the injuries that my Dodgers had to deal with. He answered the bell.
Mm-hmm.
With clutch hits and all that, and he saved us in the wild card game. So I'm happy to have him back. What are your thoughts on the Dodgers getting Chris Taylor back but losing Corey Seager?
Huge. I mean, they had to either go with either one, right? Chris Taylor, it didn't seem like Chris Taylor. Chris Taylor, I think the team that was probably without the Dodgers was the Phillies. But I think that they saw this as, okay, Seager's going to want the bank. He's going to want the bread, which he deserves. One of the top shortstops in the game. And I think that Taylor's a great fit. Keep him there second.
He is a great fit. And actually now we are past the 8:59 Pacific deadline. So this current CBA has expired. So it is So what are your thoughts on the Padres trading for Adam Frazier to the Mariners?
Yeah. I think they were looking at Frazier last year too. Before the Padres got him, I think there was some interest there. Mariners obviously got much better too. They low key added some decent moves. I mean, Frazier wasn't that great with the Padres. He wasn't obviously giving them the boost that they wanted, but the Pirates, he was an all-star and he was a great hitter for them. And then Robbie Ray, you had the Cy Young Award winner. You boost that staff with a guy like Marco Gonzalez who's decent. You have two really good lefties there. You have Ray obviously as your ace. So Mariners got much better, but the team that really is going to be scary this coming year is the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays adding Kevin Gausman. You have him with Alek Manoah, Jose Barrios. Obviously losing Robbie Ray is huge, but you replace him with Kevin Gausman, you're doing pretty good. And then, I mean, their bullpen, they need to kind of figure out their bullpen. But between their lineup and between their starting pitching, that is a dangerous force for my division. So we're going to be up for – that's going to be really tough for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough for sure. But when it comes to the remaining top free agents that are still in the market, we're going to be talking more about that than the next week when we're on air next week to talk about more free agent stuff during the lockout and also some games during the lockout I might have. So talk about my free agent spotlight that I want to start with is Chris Bryant. So even though that I think he could be a Giant, my gut tells me he wants to play third base full time and occasional right field and left field. And I outlined where would be the best fit for him. Would it be the Angels? He could meet with the Angels, but I don't think the Angels will give him a contract just because they have Anthony Rendon at third. The Padres, if he's open to playing left field exclusively, and the Padres add another right fielder, and then you move Real Myers to DH, that could definitely happen. Padres is definitely a possibility for Chris Bryant, but I think he's going to be a Seattle Mariner in the end.
Who's this?
Chris Bryant.
I think Bryant, his three teams are the Phillies, the Mets, or the Mariners.
I think he's going to be a Mariner. I think you need a third baseman, and I don't think the Mariners are going to move J.P. Crawford to shortstop. The Mariners have Robbie Ray. I think they're going to get Yusei Kikuchi back, and I think that having Chris Bryant at third base will definitely fit the puzzle for Seattle.
And there's a breaking news move in baseball. It's a pickup right after the CBA. So I guess there are some little moves. Jordan Lyles, who's been kind of around pitcher, didn't know he was a free agent, but the Baltimore Orioles has just picked him up on a 1-year, $7 million contract. That is, once again, Jordan Lyles going to the Orioles.
Yes, Jordan Lyles, man. I mean, I think I think that he's not really that good of a pitcher. I mean, that my daughters have seen him
down one game at Fenway. He was one of the worst pitchers last year in baseball, and he just completely shut us down for one. I was so pissed. I'm like, how are we again not? He went 7 1-run innings. I'm like, what's going on, man? So.
Yeah, I mean, but you think Chris Bryant will be a Mariner?
I think it's one of the teams.
I mean, with the Phillies, I don't think they should give up on Alec Baum just yet, like we talked about before.
He's a good hitter. Low-key, really, really good. So.
And what about guys that could be on the trade market before the season, or maybe potential trade deadline acquisitions? Could we see Cedric Mullins and John Means on the trade market?
Yeah, that was extremely interesting that they even listened to interest offers for Mullins. I thought that was extremely interesting because he's supposed to be probably your main key piece. Now, if Mullins, obviously, because he's so talented, he's so good, if he wants to move on at some point in the next couple of years, he should go somewhere. He should definitely go somewhere where he can compete and try to get a title. But those two definitely, I think that they're going to stick around for the long term. But I thought it was really interesting to see that they're going to have some, some interest there, some calls. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we'll see interest in that market, but I think that the Orioles should stay away from trading John Means and Cedric Mullins. They want to build their next winning team around those guys and Trey Mancini when they're done rebuilding.
Definitely so.
And then we'll talk about Nick Castellanos. He's like one of my favorite free agent outfielders on this market.
Oh, that's right. He's still out there. Yeah.
You know where I predict he's going to go? I even thought that he would be a Marlin because he grew up near Lone Depot Park, but Avi Garcia is there now. And I feel like Brian Anderson will play left field. I think Jesus Sanchez will move to center field. I think Nick Castellanos will end up going to the Bay Area and being a San Francisco Giant. I think the Giants have the money to pay him.
Interesting. I would like that fit a lot.
Yeah, the Giants need a middle-of-the-order kind of guy. I mean, they've already solidified their pitching staff with DeSclafani and Wood. I think they could get one more left-hander, and I think the Giants should be set.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, do you like that fit for Castellanos being in San Fran now that Avi Garcia is now a Marlin?
Yeah, for sure.
And then we'll talk about where else do you see Castellanos fitting in with? Padres, maybe?
Padres, yep. Pirates, maybe.
Oh, I don't know. He wouldn't want to go there. Maybe he might go back to the Reds.
Could go back to the Reds, yeah.
Because I think he really liked playing in Cincy. Marlins, I think, is probably off limits now. Or wait, if he wants to be a Marlin, I could still see him being a Marlin, but he wouldn't play outfield. He'll probably be DHing because they want Brian Anderson to play left field, though, because the universal DH is coming.
Yeah, for sure.
That's something I would think here. But and what about Anthony Rizzo? Do you think Anthony Rizzo will remain a Yankee, or do you think he goes to the Red Sox? Does he ultimately go to a team that needs a first baseman?
Yeah, I think for sure Rizzo will probably be back with the Yankees after I see it. I mean, Olsen. We have to also talk about Matt Olsen. We got to talk about some of these A's because between Bassett, Nanaya, and Montes, none of them got moved yet, and they were in some calls about maybe getting moved. The fire sale, Matt Chapman hasn't gotten moved. I don't know if he will get moved, but the only really piece from the A's that got moved was Mark Canha.
Yeah, only Mark Canha. So anyways, let's talk about now that the lockout is officially on now. So we'll talk. Here's some of the rules that are sent when it comes to these ramifications. So no free agents can sign, no trades can be made, and players have no access to team facilities. So basically, in that lockout guide that was sent to the agents and players, there will be workout facilities set up in Arizona and Florida without players going to the workout facilities in their own stadiums. Since that's going to be locked out to the players, it's going to be only accessible to the owners and the executives.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we'll see? You think you'll see players work out during the lockout and train for the upcoming season?
They got it somewhere. They go to a private gym, go to their own house. I mean, like COVID and stuff, where we had to kind of shuffle things around. Players are going to have to kind of figure themselves out too. I mean, they obviously will have certain situations where obviously this is for sure not going to be what we all anticipate, but we got to go in it.
Yeah, that's Jesse Rogers wrote this piece. He said everything halts except that teams could talk to one another convincingly. Trades could be customated during the lockout, but not announced until after it ends. The major league portion of the winter meeting scheduled next week will be canceled, meaning that you could still see minor league teams still go to the winter meetings in Orlando. There would be a little point holding the meetings as agents could meet with teams. In fact, team personnel would be allowed to speak to the media about players on 40-man rosters during the lockout. The minor league side of the meetings would continue in Orlando. Off-season drug testing would be stopped as well. It would pick up as soon as the new CBA is ratified. So that's what Jesse Rogers said. So, anyways, we have comments here. So Christy Wilson says hello. Thanks, Christy, for coming on. And she says, this lockout's already depressing, and it's just started. I'm with you, Christy, but I'm staying patient that it's that good thing it's not impacting games now. That I'm hoping that as the weeks go on, heading before the holidays, that we'll see some type of movement before the new year. And Ben, you can reiterate that comment that what Christy said.
Yeah, Christy, I totally agree. I feel this. It's depressing. There's obviously nothing to about it at this moment, but like Loro, I agree. I'm going to try to stay positive and see what they can do before I obviously get me even more disappointed. So we'll obviously have to kind of see. What they're trying to do in terms of trying to get a 60-game season for baseball last year or the year before. It might take a while, but all I'm moving forward is just get more baseball. That's all I am at this point.
I don't want another shortened season. I think that's everybody's gonna be losing money because of that, and also the grievance hearings that when the Major League Baseball Players Union filed grievance hearings to the league of the shortened game season that the players weren't getting paid. I think Tony Clark did the right thing, though.
Yep.
Don't you think? But with this lockout, do you think that it shows you how bad Rob Manfred is as our commissioner of baseball?
Horrible. There's nothing about him that I'll ever like. So,
what things don't you not like about Commissioner Manfred? Is it because, he's been in charge of labor since 1998. I totally believe that he'll excel in that, but he's just not. He ruins baseball in a lot of ways, like sticky substance. One of them is the 3-batter minimum rule. That's kind of ridiculous.
mm-hmm.
And also the shift. Why would he ban the shift?
Nah, probably not.
So do you think that, like we talked about it on air, do you think that we would see a change in the playoff format to kind of help increase revenue and then the DH come into the National League?
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of changes, I think. Did you see that playoff format too? That was handed out as well?
Yeah, I saw that proposal, and I think the players could definitely accept that proposal.
Yeah.
So basically, what I'm hoping is that I'm confident that this lockout will end because I really want to go back to more Dodger games in person. It is.
Yeah.
This is like, if you look at it, this is like the first lockout I've seen since 2011 when the NFL and NBA had to shut down business, but the NFL's ended luckily on time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the NBA that year, led by David Stern, they had to, they were foolish.
Yep.
So, anyways, so we'll talk about some final thoughts to end tonight. So I have to say that my final thoughts is that it's going to be frustrating weeks ahead, but at the same time, I am optimistic and I am confident and eager and anxious that both sides will pick up on these negotiations.
Yeah. Just like no activity for baseball the next couple of weeks is going to feel weird. Obviously we'll talk more about it. We'll try to keep everybody that's watching in tune. But it's officially lockdown time for baseball. Obviously we have other sports we can focus on, but the sport of our true love is not with us at this moment. So
not right now, but I do feel like that something will get done prior to spring training because I really want to see a full spring training, and I want to see the players report to spring training on time, and I think they want that from a player.
Has also tweeted breaking news that the winter meetings have been canceled for the major league portion. They will continue on the minor league side. So that is going to be that's not what you want to hear either. So the league obviously is not in a good spot for sure. Winter meetings also a lot of fun too because you get to hear more stuff. I've always actually wanted to go to one too, but it's a depressing time right now. But obviously, like I said, you got to think positive and you got to really just move forward.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of work to get done, and I know that Rob Manfred and Tony Clark are going to want to get this done prior to spring training. And I felt like that this past CBA to get it off my chest. This was a very bad CBA. The last one that was signed in 2016. That was a very bad CBA, and I really think the next one will be better.
So before we actually finish off, there is a letter that just got sent from Manfred about 10 minutes ago. Let's read it to our streamed fans and to everybody.
Yeah, where can I find that letter from Commissioner Manfred?
It is on MLB Twitter page. It just got sent out, but I will read it, and I can also send it to you after if you can't find it.
No, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna find it on the Twitter page right now. So
all right, I'm gonna start to read it out in a bit. Read it out now. So to our fans, I first want to thank you for our continued support of the great game of baseball. This past season, we were reminded of how the national pastime can bring us together and restore our hope despite the difficult changes of a global pandemic. As we begin to emerge from one of the darkest periods in our history, all ballparks were filled with fans, the games were filled with excitement, and millions of families felt the joy of watching baseball together. That is why I'm so disappointed about the situation in which our game finds itself today. Despite the league's best effort to make a deal with the Players Association, we were able to extend our 26-year-long history of labor peace and come to agreement with MLBPA before the CBA expired. Therefore, we are forced to commence a lockout, effective at 12:01 on December 2nd. Obviously, there's more to it. I'll read more later, but
yeah, I'll read the rest.
It's a difficult day for baseball, to say the least. And at this point, we kind of have to see what type of goal that they can move forward with. But it's
where did you leave off?
I just read the whole first paragraph. That was it. So
yeah. So are you? Did you leave off on December 2nd? Because I'm going to start with this paragraph right there.
Yeah. It was right after. Yeah, the first paragraph, after watching baseball together. And from there, that's it.
All right. So he also adds, folks, for those who are watching, Commissioner Manfred released this statement now. He says, "That is why I am so disappointed about the situation in which our game finds itself today. Despite the league's best efforts to make a deal with the Players Association, we were unable to extend our 26-year-long history of labor peace, as you said, and come to an agreement with the MLBPA before the current CBA expired. Therefore, we have been forced to commence a lockout of Major League players effective at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time on December 2nd. I want to explain to you how we got here and why we have to take this action today. Simply put, we believe that an offseason lockout is the best mechanism to protect the 2022 season. We hope that the lockout will jumpstart the negotiation and get us to an agreement that will allow the season to start on time. This defensive lockout was necessary because the Players Association vision for Major League Baseball would threaten the ability of most teams to be competitive. It's simply not a viable option from the beginning. The MLBPA has been unwilling to move from their starting position, compromise, or collaborate on solutions. When we began negotiations over a new agreement, the Players Association already had a contract that they wouldn't trade for any other in sports. Baseball players have no salary cap, and they are not subjected to a maximum length of dollar amount on contracts. In fact, only MLB has granted contracts that run 10 or more years and in excess of $300 million. We have not proposed anything that would change these fundamentals. While we have heard reportedly that the free agency is broken in the month of November, $1.7 billion was committed to free agents, smashing the prior record of nearly 4 times. By the end of the offseason, clubs will have committed more money to players than in any offseason in MLB history. We worked hard to find compromise while making the system better for players by addressing concerns raised by the Players Association. We offered to establish a minimum payroll for all clubs to meet for the first time in baseball history to allow the majority of players to reach free agency earlier through an age-based system, and that would eliminate any claims of service time, increased compensation for all young players, including increases in minimum salary. While negotiations lacked momentum, we tried to create some offering to accept the universal DH, which I think is going to be coming to the National League, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
No, you said you think it's coming to the National League.
What, the universal DH? That would be
good. To create a new draft system using a lottery similar to other leagues, competitive balance tax threshold, and effects of small market teams. We've had challenges before the respect of making labor agreements and have overcome those challenges every single time during my tenure. Regrettably, it appears the Players Association came to the bargaining table with a strategy of confrontation over compromise. They never wavered from collectively the most extreme set of proposals in the history, including significant cuts of revenue sharing, a weakening of the competitive balance tax, and shortening period of time that players play for their teams. All of these challenges will make our game less competitive, not more. To be clear, this hard but important step does not necessarily mean games will be canceled. In fact, we are taking this step now because it accelerates the urgency for an agreement with as much runaway as possible to avoiding doing damage to the 2022 season. Delaying this process further would only put spring training, opening day, and the rest of the season further at risk, and we cannot allow an expired agreement to again cause an in-season strike and a missed World Series like we experienced in 1994. We all owe you, our fans, better than that. Today is a difficult day for baseball, but as I have said all year, there is a path to a fair agreement, and we will find it. I do not doubt the league and the players share a fundamental appreciation for this game and a commitment to its fans. I remain optimistic that both sides will seize the opportunity to work together to grow, protect, and strengthen the game we love. MLB is ready to work around the clock to meet that goal. I urge the Players Association to join us at the table. Sincerely, Robert D. Manfred Jr., the Commissioner of Baseball. What was your takeaways on this long statement that he wrote?
It's a bunch of BS, but I hope the Players Association just had a tweet that is very, I think, optimistic. And I think the players just don't have to budge into what they want to do. It's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I'm just reading. I kind of read the players' unions released this statement. They said, this shutdown is a dramatic measure regardless of this timing. It is not required by law or for any other reason. It was the owner's choice, plain and simple, significantly calculated to pressure players into relinquishing rights and benefits and abandoning good faith bargaining proposals that will benefit not just the players, but the game and the industry as a whole. These tactics are not new. We have been here before. The players have risen to the occasion time and time again, grinded by a solidarity that they have been forged over generations. We will do so again here. We remain determined to return to the field under the terms of the negotiated CBA that is fair to all parties and provide fans with the best version of the game that we all love. That is the statement from Tony Clark.
Definitely so, man. So we could talk about more about it next week, all right?
Yeah, we got more.
It was a great episode.
Yeah, it was. So more to talk about next week, and more. We'll come up with some games to play during the show next week about free agents and all that.
Yeah, we should, for sure. I mean, there's nothing else better we could talk about, so we'll have to figure out some of our own fun.
All right. All right, folks. Have a great rest of your night.
Take care.